I was having health problems, basically, health challenges. And I would spend a lot of time out of New York because of the weather.
Mm.
And so I would rent Airbnbs all over the world and all over the country. And so I stayed in, I think, over 35 different Airbnbs over the years. And so I was actually a guest first. And I'm sure, as anyone who else has stayed in Airbnbs, there isn't really a level of standardization. It isn't like you go to a Marriott and you're going to get Marriott level. It's like you may meet a dog who wants to eat your hat. True story. You may walk in and the place smells like mold and you get sick for 2 weeks.
Ugh.
Or you may walk in and there's a plug-in, and I'm an extremely sensitive traveler. I'm completely allergic to like fragrance, alcohol, including rubbing alcohol. So I'm kind of that, princess in the pea type traveler that I needed a kitchen. So I was like, of course, not well enough and had never really thought, oh, would I be a host? It was just like, I was sort of taking notes like, okay, I would do this differently. This was really good. This was not so good. And then, fast forward to like, I was 19, 18 years into my stint in New York. And I just was like, okay, I was kind of burned out. I was honestly burned out from trading hours for dollars, because that's what you're doing as a stylist. You only get paid when you show up, and you have to be like sparkly, and you have to be like on, and you have to be like funny, personality, which I have, but it was just like, because of the whole health stuff, I was getting burned out. And my grandfather was in 2018, I got back from Europe and it was like super clear that he was, going to transition.
Yeah.
And he was like a dad to me. And so I was like, I just had this huge calling. I just wanted to be by his side. Even though I was a granddaughter, I was just like, wanted to be with him and hold his hand. So I came down to Florida, to Jupiter, and it took about 8 months for him to transition. He was super, super healthy. He was 102. And
Wow.
during that
102.
time of, holding his hand and buying flowers and kind of being the moral support, I had a lot of downtime at night. And so, because I was alone in the house and with nurses, there's not much to do. So I was like looking online at real estate because I was super curious. I was like, I wonder what it costs to buy a house around here.
Yeah.
And I realized that if I sold my New York place, that what I could buy down in Florida was monumentally better. And so I basically, quickly, very quickly, within like 2 months, sold, because I was like, I had tried to sell my New York place before. Sold New York, bought a 3-bedroom, 2-bath house that was walking distance from this little local beach that wasn't really advertised as a beach. It was a park and then it had a beach, but no one was really like touting how great it was. And I was like scratching my head. I was like, this is so strange. And my plan was to rent it out, but like rent out rooms and live there. But originally, my grandfather was still, transitioning. So I basically moved my stuff in and I pre-sold it on Airbnb with the real estate listing photos. And I got a family, they booked it for 6 weeks. So I moved in 2 weeks, got it set, and then rented it, went back to my grandfather's. He was like beyond happy. It was like he couldn't have
That's
been more
awesome.
happier. He was like, "You're a Floridian now, and the good news is you're gonna have to buy a car, and I
You're here
can
to
help
stay.
you buy a car." I mean, he was like so. It was like he was so content that I was now living in the state. And then 3 weeks later, he passed. And, my house is rented that I was supposed to live in. And my aunt, she thought I was insane. And she's like, I don't understand why did you buy a house you're not going to live in, can't afford to live. You're like, what, she
Yeah.
just was like confused. And I was like, I think it's going to be okay. And I went traveling. I was like grieving. I stayed on with a lot of family and friends for the first 6 months. And I really kind of like, I tested the market. I wanted to see, okay, in the beginning, it wasn't like there was this master plan. It was more like I just put one foot in front of the next, and I tested renting out rooms, and that like did not fly. And then I tested renting out the whole house, and it was like that was what everyone wanted. So I was like, oh, I guess I can't live in the house and rent out the room. I guess this house just really rents well as a whole house because 3 bedrooms, 2 baths, private pool, beautiful, walk to the beach. It's like every check mark that every Floridian wants.
Yeah.
And so I accidentally stumbled upon a gold mine that, that house just performed so well with me just kind of trying it, winging it. And
Yeah.
then I was such a natural host because of my customer service skills from styling and my ability to like just really be human for the guests, really ask them, what do you want? Not just here's a bottle of wine. Do you know what I
Yeah.
mean?
Hmm.
So I've really, the whole time I feel like I'm driven by the guest experience. I'm driven by like how can I make it the perfect stay for them
Mm.
and not, oh well, statistics say that Snicker bars are the best selling candy bar, so you should stick Snickers in your short-term rental house.
Yeah.
It's like, well, what if and here's the odd thing is that in the beginning I was shocked at how many fellow travelers showed up and stayed in my house who were dairy-free, gluten-free, paleo, allergic to sugar, allergic to something, having health challenges, going through a surgery. I was attracting like-minded people, which was like, whoa.
Interesting. Yeah. So how do you customize it? You mentioned not just leaving a standard bottle of wine, but do you have conversations with them in advance before they show up and sort of offer
Yeah,
concierge
so
type
I am
services?
like super communicative with the guest in advance of their arrival. In the
Okay.
beginning, I was having conversations with every single guest, but I found that some people don't really want to have that conversation. Some people really want to lean into like learning about you, and then some people are just like, let me do my thing. And so I've learned to kind of follow their lead. And then any opportunity I get to kind of ask them, oh, like for your starter, I mean, we provide for stays over a week, we provide starter breakfast groceries.
Mm.
And so the average person would just be like, oh yeah, let's just throw some eggs in there. And I like go further. I just say, your stay qualifies for complimentary groceries. Give me your list and I'll shop for you. And then at the end I say, special diets, catered to. And there's like a
Wow.
line about, you're not weird because you drink almond milk or rice milk. Because normal travel is completely skewed in the, mass middle America, normal grocery store, slant, Coke, Pepsi, sugar, candy,
Hmm.
coffee. I mean, although I will say most of my guests love coffee. I don't personally drink it, but everyone loves coffee that
Hmm.
stays in my house. So what did I do? I provide 3 different ways to make coffee: Nespresso, drip, and French press. I mean,
Wow.
I'm about to like even go pour over because I'm like, oh, maybe we should add pour over. It's like coffee
Yeah.
is one of the things that is very important to my guests,
Yeah.
which is
Yeah.
like I don't drink it, and then I'm a tea person, so we put tea and we put all the accoutrements, but I don't assume that everyone drinks milk.
Hmm. Yeah. So how do you manage that process? Because I think that's awesome that you do that. And I think you're right. Everyone's got different unique tastes and different unique dietary requirements. You mentioned you traveled quite a bit in the beginning while you were kind of getting started with this. Um, how do you manage this process? Are you actually driving to the store to purchase these products for them? And what's your system look like?
So when I first started, yes, I was out of state. So I was managing everything remotely. I was using apps like Amazon Prime from Whole Foods. I was having things delivered, and I was relying on cleaners. But then I ended up living here full time during the pandemic, and there was a point where I made a decision. And I was like, look, you can like go traveling, go somewhere else, or you could like settle here and completely lean into this business and get super involved. And that's what I did. So yeah, I am driving to the store. I cleaned the house the other day, and I have to say I did a really great job. Like I was kind of like in a hard place because the cleaner's daughter got sick, and I was like, well, I can do this. Like,
Yeah.
I can do this. So yeah, I'm a little too involved as a realtor, but I feel like as I'm growing my real estate business, it's nice to have to get your hands dirty, to roll up your sleeve, to know like how much work is involved and what needs to be done. I'm usually the last person who has eyes on the property before the guests come in. So like I take video, I do quality control, I make sure the gifts are right, I make sure there's no like stray hairs. But is that something that I think I like when you go to scale, like you can't do that. I'm 2 properties, but I'm actually thinking about standardizing because I use the scheduled messages a lot, and I have a lot of pre-canned messages, and that makes my business run really well. But I'm actually about to add in a new one where it's like a questionnaire, like what's your favorite guilty pleasure, or what's your favorite, what are you looking forward to doing in the area, and then I can potentially upsell them like a boat ride or upsell them in a local experience. So I think I'm always thinking about, okay, how can I improve? How can I go faster, easier, but then also how can I make the experience better for the guest?
Yeah, that's great. It might be a little scary what you learn when you start asking people about their guilty pleasures, but I love that.
Yeah, I might have to like do a caveat,
Yeah.
food and beverage wise.
Yeah, yeah.
But, I mean, my demographic is families, multi-generational families. Grandma,
Nice.
the kids, and then the grandkids. That's who usually, although I've been experimenting, we're in slow season here in Florida, and it's extra slow. So I've been experimenting with closing off 2 of the bedrooms and just selling the master suite and the house with a pool. And actually, we just had our first guest come, and there was just like a couple that came to see the turtles. And that was like a new guest avatar, and that was kind of exciting. And
Yeah.
I've like the whole way I've realized, because people will book my whole house, and then there'll be like 2 people. That
Yeah.
happens a lot.
Yeah.
And so in the back of my mind, always like, where can I find a 1-bedroom house with a massive pool, massive backyard? Because
Yeah.
that's what the Florida guest really wants. They want the indoor outdoor living. They want to be near a beach. They want a pool. They want privacy, romantic, but not shared.
Yeah.
They don't want to share anything.